Good morning, everyone. It's Patty in the AM. It's Monday, and today I wanted to talk about something that really I'm extremely passionate about, and it's about the pH balance in our bodies and the foods we put in our bodies and the thoughts we put in our bodies. And I realized I'm so passionate about it. I knew I couldn't speak on it in a way that would be peaceful and calm and the kindness and that love. I might have even came by with a little bit of push. And it's only because it is eating in this way and thinking in this way that has not only saved my life, but it's saved my children, people I know who have chosen to listen and, accept the advice and actually apply it to themselves. It's like miraculous. But I want to come from another approach. And it is Rumi. It's like when I was thinking all those thoughts, I came across this passage from Rumi, and I did post it. But Rumi always touches me because I know he was speaking in such worldly ways. When I was younger, I used to not really be interested. I thought it was about lovers, And then I realized it was more about the journey of love of self. So here we go. It's by Rumi. If you're not sure who Rumi is, some people don't know. It's okay. Just look into it. You might find him fascinating, or you might be like, that. Anyways, so it is entitled, The One Thing You Must Do. There is one thing in this world you must never forget to do. If you forget everything else and not this, there's nothing to worry about. But if you remember everything else and forget this, then you will have done nothing in your life. It's as if a king has sent you to some country to do a task, and you perform 100 other services, but not the one he sent you to do. So human beings come to this world to do particular work. That work is the purpose, and each is specific to the person. If you don't do it, it's as though a priceless Indian sword were used to slice rotten meat. It's a golden bowl being used to cook turnips when one filling from the bowl could buy 100 suitable pots. It's like a knife of the finest tempering nailed into a wall to hang things on. You say, but look, I'm using the dagger. It's not lying idly. Do you hear how ludicrous that sounds? For a penny, an iron nail could be bought to serve for that. You say, but I spend my energies on lofty enterprises. I study jurisprudence and philosophy and logic and astronomy and medicine and the rest. But consider why you do those things. They are all branches of yourself. Remember the deep root of your being, the presence of your Lord. Give yourself to the one who already owns your breath and your moments. If you don't, you will be like the man who takes a precious dagger and hammers it into his kitchen wall for a peg to hold his dipper gourd. You'll be wasting valuable keenness and forgetting your dignity and purpose. And this is, if you're interested, from The Soul of Rumi, is that book. So I wanted to share that with you because eventually we all learn our purpose. We might not know it when we first are come into this life, or maybe we do and we forget through all the chaos that might surround us as we're growing. Or maybe we're held by parents who do guide us to what could be our purpose in life. But for some of us, like myself, I learned as I was going along. And I learned through experience. And one that touches me deeply is when my mom became ill. It was back in 1986. It was a horrible experience because I remember her telling me, but she didn't want me to tell the rest of my siblings yet. She didn't want anyone to know. It was just, and I understood that, but it was still a heavy burden to take on. But it also taught me, respect of, of course, to remember to respect others' wishes. They've confided in you, and that is something that I also use in my business now. But what was more importantly is my mother had developed a cancer within her, I believe it was her cervix, which eventually, within months, went through her liver, in her colon, which really quickly, she was diagnosed to pass within 3 to 6 months, and it was within 3 to 6 months. But what I learned from that is I remember watching her body. If you've ever watched somebody go through something like that, I remember wishing it was me instead of her. Why did she have to go through so much in life? So much like anguish and just trouble and just always standing with grace through it all, to have to die of such a painful death, or just something that tears you apart. And it was funny because at that time, my mom's family doctor said, maybe, your family should get tested for colon cancer and, or just, have your body checked. And so, I didn't know what I know now. So I did get checked. And sure enough, they did think they saw something. They saw like what could be a growth, which was kind of scary. And they did do further testing and they realized, it was just the person who was reading the x-ray and they mistook it for something else. It was nothing. Right? But what it taught me later on in life is like why we should not take things like when you really want something for somebody else and you want to take it on yourself, it becomes into your being. So much so that even though it was a false reading, it's going to appear real. So I learned that later on in life, I didn't know then, but what I know now, but I learned that I am best to be an observer. I can offer ideas which might help another, if they ask for my advice. Or if it's somebody close to me, I can definitely say, this has worked for me, or I can be like an example of what's worked for me. And my mother passing in that way was definitely something that was going to make me listen when somebody had advice on, if you eat these things and keep a pH balance in your body and keep good thoughts, this will heal anything. And I started observing that throughout my life. And so it definitely made me pay attention to this one person who was preaching it, practicing it, and actually the proof in the pudding. But there's things that you can't tell people things like this if you're not a doctor, even if you know more than most doctors do, even if you're one of those people that just like gets it. We've all met that person that reads a page and they get it. They're just quick. And some of those people, they can't even survive in this world because they're so smart, no one gets them. It's like talking to a wall. You just can't find that person who really hears you because you're in a whole different language. And so that thought brought me back to my Oren post of the day. Because what did it state? I don't know if anyone read it yet, but it is about, of course we love people very much. We do. Our family, those close to us, our pets. Think on that, right? But it is, I'm looking for it here. It says, if you are idly thinking of other people, you draw in whatever feeling they have or whatever level of thought they carry at the time. If you notice people coming into your mind and then, I should put reading glasses on for this, send them love and let them go. Do not dwell on their situation or what is happening in their lives, for if you do so, you begin to bring their reality into your own. So think on that. And you really do, and especially when you really care about people, you really want things to be better for them. You bring it into your own being, and then all of a sudden you'll start noticing more people getting sick. If it's sickness like that, you'll start seeing more people become ill, or becoming ill, or, maybe cancer scares. So that's why it is really important I'm not saying don't love people. I'm not saying don't be around people who are not well. I'm saying we're best to be a loving soul and observe. We can't fix others, but we can, as I love what Einstein, I'm probably bringing up almost every session. He said he doesn't, and I'm probably never quite verbatim word for word, but he does say, he doesn't teach his children, but he provides the tools in which they can learn. And that always reminds me of like anything that you're drawn to listen to. There'll be parts that you'll be like, wow, that rings true for me, you know, and other parts you'll be like, yeah, that's not me. I mean, and even like some of the things I read from Oren, some things I'm just like, yeah, I don't know if that's precisely, you know, what I want to put out today. You know, I don't know how I feel about that, but it's not that it's right or wrong. It's just, I don't know if that feels true for me right now. And, you know, it's the same with a lot of things I might look upon or hear or listen to about throughout the day. But back to my purpose. My purpose in this life is to have gone through all these experiences so that I can share real life experiences with you and tell you how they came upon me and what they taught me. And so, again, like I said, I am very passionate about, you know, the thoughts we put into our body just as well as the foods we put in our body. And I'm always tested on this, you know, because somebody really wise taught me, because I just didn't understand it. So somebody wise who is so intelligent is just so smart and just knows how to do things like that. It really knows how to repair somebody's body if they'll listen. But I realized a long time ago, and what this person had said to me, I said, why don't you do this for a living? Number one, you can't do it unless you're a doctor, and you really can't do it unless you're, even if you're a doctor, because the doctor, if you are a doctor, you know something really true, that you cannot prescribe anything other than what you have been ordered to do, basically. You cannot prescribe anything other than what your certificate says you're supposed to do. So you'll notice that conventional doctors, they either offer prescription, or, you know, if you have cancer, it's chemo. You know, even if they know that they know that they know, and they might eat really well and know that pH balance is optimum, that's what will heal your body, they can't tell you that. Believe it or not, yes, it's true. You can look into it, it's true. So what I'm here to tell you is, through everything I've been through, because I had to go through this with my children too, and I know I had talked about it, and if I haven't, I will talk about it, because I know it's really important. My son, because I wasn't eating right yet, so my son, because my son's going to be, good Lord, he's going to be 31 pretty soon. But anyways, so he was my first pregnancy, and at the time, I had no idea about eating right. I mean, you know, we grew up with, you know, the basics just like everybody else, you know. Like, I know my mom, she always made real potatoes, like she peeled all the potatoes, she mashed the potatoes. We had real potatoes, you know, but we did have canned vegetables. We did have frosted flakes. We did have different things like that. So, you know, you might think that in my mind, I knew the right way to eat, you know, like, even as I was getting into my 20s, what did I do? You know, you see the commercials, you're supposed to have orange juice and milk with your bacon and eggs and toast, you know. And back then it was like white bread, you know. But even still, I thought I was doing the right thing. I didn't know that I wasn't. And that's that whole passage in the Bible that says, you know, forgive them, Father, for they do not know what they do. Because you really don't know. You don't know until you experience it. So my awakening was my son. Because I did exactly what I was supposed to do, or exactly what I thought I was supposed to do, was you nurse your children. And back then I didn't realize that everything you eat goes through your children's bodies. So even though the milk that comes from you is supposed to be really good, but if you're eating not a good diet, not a good pH balance, your child is experiencing that. And so thank God for my son, because if I had never had him, I wouldn't know the importance of that. And it had to come through a lot of trials. So I had to stop nursing him when he was like 3 or 4 months. The doctor, you know, because of course I was going to the doctor, you know. And we went through the all these different testing, allergy to everything, you know. They put him on this Alimentum, and I found out that's like a pre-digested formula, but hey, it worked, right? I mean, nothing worked. You know, we tried everything. We didn't try raw milk yet, though. But it's funny because we didn't know my son had a real problem. I mean, he was bleeding internally, like, you know, there was, when he, you know, his colon, when he would go poop, he was definitely having specks of blood in there, and he was having projectile vomiting, you know, and you just don't know, you know. And so, of course, that's why I was bringing him to the doctors. But what really, probably really lit the candle before my eyes was my sister Peggy. She was watching my son, and she's got 4 children, and they're all like a little bit older than my children. Like mine are 30 and 29, and hers are like 32, 34, 36, 38. They're all girls. My son loved it there, even though he was still really little. And, of course, I'm going to let my sister watch them. I trust her more than who knows what. I just, it's my sister Peggy. I'm sure she knows who she is. And if you can raise 4 girls like that on your own and pretty much make it through, you can make it through anything. And yes, you should let your child be there. But anyways, one of the kids, when my son was there, had dropped a gallon of milk. And it splattered everywhere. It's something that happens in houses when you have a lot of kids. And, especially when they're small and they're trying to pick up something, they just want to be a good helper. All Peggy's girls are like that. Good helpers. But the splattering hit my son. And when it did, my sister said it looked like he had chicken pox. Like immediate chicken pox. Like he had like bumps all over him, but like bubbles all over him. Or possibly measles, but it was definitely bumps. And so, that definitely alarmed me, something to pay attention to. You have live proof that this whole milk that they sell in stores affects my son. And somebody might say like, oh, it's a milk allergy. And it was funny because when we actually did the testing, it was the actual top allergist at the time in Rhode Island, like really well known. And he did the allergy testing. He's like, he's not allergic to milk. He's like, let's have him drink a glass of milk. And he's about 8 months by now, or 8, and see what happens. And I'm like, already at that point, I knew he was nuts. If that does that to the outside of his skin, I mean, I'm not a doctor. I don't know everything. I was only, young and, maybe 30. I didn't know what I know now, but something in me just said, no, that doesn't sound right. If that does it to the inside of his body, good. I mean, on the outside of his body, what would it do to the inside of his body? What are they trying to do to people like a guinea pig? And this is somebody, a respected doctor. Like, this is somebody he sees children, babies, and they do these tests. It's like, oh my gosh. But this wise person that's in my life, that unbeknownst to me, he was already learning about pH balance and about, putting things into our body, but he didn't know I was going through what I was going through. And we ended up being in a conversation on the phone one day, and he's like, well, just try raw milk. It's said to do wonders, raw goat milk, for children who go through these things. He didn't really get into the who's, what's, why's, when, and where, but I did. And instead of giving him, the bottled stuff. And he also, taught me to give him whole grains, vegetables, just to, eventually just start giving him things like that. Don't give him anything manufactured, anything in a package, nothing. But I'll tell you, the first thing I did was the raw milk, the raw goat's milk. Everything about my son cleared up within 3 days. His eczema and psoriasis that he was covered in head to toe just disappeared. His bleeding stopped. His, what they call colic, everything stopped. He no longer projectile vomited. It was at that time that I really started to pay attention to what this very wise person was telling me. And we've always been in contact. We've always been close. Anyways, so throughout time, I've learned that, oh my gosh, if this can heal my son, someone who they told me that wasn't even going to thrive, in other words, live, because of the problems he was having. And this one thing, this raw goat milk, kept me staying on raw milk. I don't do raw goat milk because I did have a experience. You put these kids, they have these sippy cups, with the little straw that's already implanted in the plastic cup. And, you really got to make sure you clean these things well. And I didn't have dishwashers. I still don't use a dishwasher. I have one. It's something in me that's old school, so I wash my dishes by hand. But there was one time where I just didn't wash out that straw enough, so the next time I put milk in it, I went to taste it, because I was always tasting it, make sure it's still fresh and, it's good for my child. It still had a clump of, the sour in it, but just oh gosh, after that, I couldn't do the raw goat milk. But I got into raw cow's milk, which is just as good. And if you're interested in raw cow's milk, I've been doing it 30 years now. 30 years. And I'm 60 now, and I think it's been good for me. I've never had any problems with it. If you're not sure where to get it, I can give you a whole list of where to get it. I know when I was living down in Myrtle Beach, even back in 2002 to 2007, somewhere around that time frame, you couldn't find anything like that. Even now, they have raw milk where you can go purchase it down in South Carolina. I was amazed by that. And another thing is I had to learn, because people I knew that were interested in the knowledge I had about some basics, and I'm not like, I don't know how it all works in your system and why it works, but I know that it does. So like for someone like me, I learned to just have, every morning I have an egg sandwich. Not just an egg sandwich. I mean, I have it on like the sprouted bread that has no white flour, no hydrogenated soils, no garlic, none of this like salt and all that. It's just real good bread. And, I use unsalted butter, good quality butter, because I'm worth it. And that's another thing to learn about. If you're worth it, you'll get the best quality items there are, or the ones that you feel meet you. And I'll have that for breakfast every morning with a glass of raw milk. I've been doing that for years. And for lunch, I might have a salad. I might, and then dinner, I'll have like maybe some kind of meat. You need your heme iron. Yes, you really do. I'm a true believer in that red meat. And it's not that I eat red meat every night. I might have chicken. I might have fish. They're all really important. And something else I've been telling people, because I started when I was out in California, back in, I went out there in 2014, and I was there till like 2017, somewhere around that time frame. And I was doing what I'm doing now, a medium, that kind of thing. But I was also doing other jobs. I mean, I was trying to make ends meet because I had the kids out there with me. They weren't kids. They were like 18 and a little bit older. But I had to make income. So I needed a lot of money, and I also needed to keep myself grounded. So what I did is I started taking care of animals part-time. I became a certified CPR. I became, with animals. I didn't know you could even do that, And I would stay overnight at people's places, and, these are people that are wealthy. Or at least have the means to be able to pay somebody to take care of their pets. So they really care about their pets. And I was finding there were people out there who already knew. Like there was one gentleman who had these beautiful Australian shepherds. And so fluffy, just so full of life. They were like 8 and 13 years old at the time. And you know what he fed them? Raw chicken. Frozen raw chicken with the bone. He would just have them in his freezer. I think we gave him like a couple in the morning and a couple at night. I can't remember exactly. But most people think that dogs shouldn't have bones. They shouldn't have brittle bones, meaning cooked bones. But a real bone, they can digest that. If you've ever watched a cat swallow a small bird whole, you'll be like, wow, yep, I guess they can. But, I think we've all been misled a lot, due to fear and, not knowing. The unknown, when you don't know, is scary, especially when we're trying it out with those we love. And so recently, on the other thing, I was helping, back to the story in California, I was beginning to help people with their animals. I was trying to show them the reflection of how your animals who have problems, it's because they're trying to show you also have problems in your stomach. Like the animal would, or maybe, problems in their head, whether it's a tumor or something like that, whatever it might be. The animals are always trying to reflect behavior to us. And maybe it's just they don't have a good diet. So I would teach people, if you're, especially with dogs, if you ever had a dog from a baby, and you notice when they're around 1 year old, they start vomiting with like bile. It's because the kibble we're giving them does not digest well. It kind of gets stuck in our stomach, and we can't digest, and they can't digest it. So, you can't get into all that. Some people don't have the time or energy, or at least they don't think they do, to take the proper time to create food for your animals. Good quality food like you'd put in yourself. So I would recommend flaxseed oil. Flaxseed oil, if you don't know about flaxseed oil, I had to learn about it because when we were working on healing something in my daughter, because you don't have control of your kids. I mean, they eat whatever they eat when they're not around you, especially as they're growing. But anyways, and they have their own stresses with other people in their lives, and, it's not just you. Anyways, I learned about flaxseed oil because my daughter at the time didn't like fish. And so, because flaxseed oil has what? Omega-3. And what does omega-3 do? It not only coats you, but you have something that's called a myelin sheath around your cells. And if you don't eat properly, it is what causes problems in your body. I mean, you can read up on it, but omega-3 rebuilds the myelin sheath. I don't want to get all in the thinking mind, hurts my head too. And I don't know enough about it to explain it well, but I do know people that do. But, so that's something that I was helping others see, and it was like, wow, there's so many people out there that don't know simple little things that your animals are showing you yourself. So, recently, I had somebody that I knew. He was younger. I worked in a restaurant. He's a dishwasher. He knows who he is. And he's had problems with his pet. And I started, to tell him, because I guess the vets recommend white rice for dogs. And I'm like, white rice? I said, you can't do that. I said, I can't eat white rice. It kills me, I eat whole grain rice if I eat rice. And it's something I only eat in the morning because it's a carb. You need carbs in the morning. So that's why I was going back to the egg sandwich. You need carbs, which is the bread. And the eggs are like a whole food. It has iodine in it. It's the one, I'm trying to remember all these things that I've learned over the years, and sometimes it's like the thinking mind again. But the eggs, look into eggs and why you need the whole egg, especially the yolk. You should be having eggs every single day, and if you can't, I don't know, find something that is of equal, I don't think there is anything that's equal to eggs. I think eggs and raw milk are probably two of the most important things that you should put in your body. But anyways, what's funny is, up until the last month, maybe a month or two now, my dog was eating, like I was giving him, food that I was eating, and also giving him kibble, like a really high-grade kibble. It's called Origin, and it's the one that's the turkey flavor. And he was doing really well, and I give him beef liver, freeze-dried beef liver bites. And that's something, if you really want your animal to do well and have a really good coat of fur, give them those beef liver bites. They're pure bites. That's the brand name, and they're 100% pure beef liver. Dog loves them. But anyway, so all of a sudden, this dog I have, he didn't want to eat his kibble anymore. I'm just like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to fight this whole issue. I'm not going to all right, starve. You can eat it, when you're really hungry, because that's, the mentality that you grow up with, even if you're a kid, if you don't eat all your dinner, you're going to starve because you're supposed to eat what's put before you. But I said to myself, you know what? It's just me. Why don't I just feed this beautiful little boy what I eat? Seems to work for me. Why not him? So we've been doing this for a month or two. Perfectly healthy. Doesn't vomit. Doesn't nothing. He doesn't have a red spot on him. He's just as happy as could be. It works. And I still give him the beef liver. He gets these little freeze-dried lamb patties too. But I realized that, the money you spend on dog kibble, even if it's pretty good high grade, it's like it costs just as much to feed him, share my food with him. I don't sit at the table with him. I eat my food and then I feed him, So this is my purpose. So that's why I read the whole part about the Rumi passage and the passage by Oren. I can't force this upon people, but I can have these conversations with you on Monday, and you might take some knowledge from it, and you might not. And you might not agree with everything I say, and that's okay. We're all subject to change. We all have choice. We can, believe what we believe in this moment, and that belief might change based on the next moment of what happens to you next. So, what else is my purpose? My purpose, I heard it really loud and clear one day, and it was probably 20 years ago. It was to teach the Word. To teach the Word to all, to the children. And who are the children? The children are everyone. It's not just somebody who's my age. It's not just somebody who's 2. It's not just somebody who's a baby. It's somebody that's 90-something years old, 110. It's here to, and it's also to teach in such a way that all can understand. To not get too complicated. So sometimes I might catch myself getting into something that might appear complicated, and there's a feeling in me to back off. Because that's not what I'm here to do. There's many people that can speak in languages that you'll be looking up each word. And even the word verbatim, I apologize. It's just a word that sticks in my head when I think of, quoting something properly. Even I had to look that up when I heard the word first, and it's years ago, of course. But so I'm here for you. I really am. And I'm not telling anyone that they're doing something right or wrong, because sometimes you could have the worst diet, not diet, I'm not saying lose weight, gain weight. You could have the worst, or what I might deem the worst program in your life as far as what you do, what you think. And if you believe it's good for you, you might be that person that lives till 110. We've all heard the story about someone, smokes, drinks, and eats fried food, and they're just happy. And they live till 125 or however old, I don't know. So with all the things I'm saying it's up to you to go through, if you're not, to listen to your body. Do you feel good? Huh? There's another point. I've found that through all my experiences, you honestly don't, most people don't know what it means to feel good. You really don't. You know what you know, and maybe you do think you feel good, but it's funny, I had someone around me for like a weekend, just someone who, was close to me, and, just had some time together, and we went out to eat. We did all these things I normally don't do. Usually I always eat from home because it's just, I feel good when I eat at home. I'm eating the foods that I'm preparing. It's with my own love, my own hands. Excuse me, coffee. I still drink black coffee in the morning. It's not bad for you. But anyways, at least in my mind, I don't put cream or sugar. I used to, many years ago. But I realized just eating out for a few days, I didn't feel as good. I felt kind of like I didn't sleep good. My head hurt a little bit. I could have ringing in my ears. I was just tired, even though I did sleep, but I didn't sleep as well. And so I was just, now I'm back to my regular, you get back to your regular self because it's what works for you. And it was a good, testament of truth that what we put in our body, to be really careful about it, to pay attention, because it's not so much, I don't think, the food, it's the quality that you believe you are, that you are worth. And to really pay attention to, get a good baseline in your body. There is sometimes, this is what I did. Years ago, and I've probably talked about this on one of the sessions, I did what's called, I know I'm going over time, I did what's called a fast. It's a 10-day master cleanse. And it's not like you drink juices and vegetables. This is something where, if you're aware of it, some of us are, it's a 10-day, like I said, and you drink a mixture of spring water, or well water, not, purified water. Another thing, I would never drink purified water unless I was dying of thirst and it was the only thing within the desert because it's stripped of its minerals. But anyway, so you prepare this. The first thing in the morning, you take some spring water and you put some, a certain amount of salt. Read up on it first. Decide if it's something you want to do. But anyways, so you drink salt water in the morning. It flushes you out. That's what salt water does. If you go into the ocean, you'll see what salt water does to the outside of your body. It cleanses you. It heals you. You go in there with a wound and watch how fast it heals something. But anyway, so you drink the salt water, and then your food intake for 10 days is a mixture of pure lemons, like hand squeezed, and spring water, a touch of cayenne pepper, and pure maple syrup. I'm talking the high grade. I'm not talking like these low grades. Look into it. Anyway, so it clears out your whole body, and then once you go through this, you feel great. The aches and pains you once had, they're just like gone. Or if you have a lot of aches and pains, you might notice a lot of them almost gone. So, once on the 11th day, then you start, with like a plain soup broth that you make yourself, with vegetables, not some kind of thing you buy in the store. And you start introducing food back into your body, and you'll notice right away, if you eat something that's not pure, your body starts sweating. Your body's trying to cleanse it right out. And so that's when I'm talking a good baseline. That's when when you have a clear baseline like that, the minute you're putting something into your body that doesn't belong there. So I'm not telling you that I know everything. I'm telling you I know that what works for me at this age. And it's worked on me for the last 30 years. And I've been tweaking it as I go along. I've recently got into a thing where I don't even drink wine anymore. It's not that I quit drinking wine. It just doesn't feel right in me anymore. I used to like to have a nice glass of wine, and it's not to say I wouldn't, because if I'm with a friend or something like that, we might have like, a cocktail or something like that. It just might come up, but it's like takes my body to process something like that, and the next day it's like, ugh, it's not worth it. It's like almost like, getting ready to set up a garden, and you plow the whole soil, you get the soil all nice and just perfect pH balance, and you plant all your seeds, and like you get a flooding rain that washes everything away. It's like, and you got to go through that all over again. So for me, it's just not worth it. Anyway, so these are the things I'm supposed to be teaching others, to be, about the mindfulness. It's to pay attention to your body. Your body really is. It's like this temple. It's like this most beautiful gift you're ever going to be receive in this lifetime, and to take the greatest of care. And I don't care if you didn't used to, like maybe your teeth aren't so great. Big deal. You can get things repaired. I have fillings, and I've had them repaired. It's like I didn't always apply my mother's wisdom of, to make sure you take care of your teeth. You didn't understand the principle about why we're not supposed to eat so much candy and things like that at Halloween. But I know now. I mean, I don't eat anything that's going to give me a cavity anymore. It's very rare if you'll see me drinking or eating anything with even a touch of sugar. I was just saying to a friend, I don't even have honey at my house. I have nothing that looks like sugar. Even if I wanted to bake, I have nothing, anything, unless I wanted to use like the unconcentrated pineapple juice. I do have some of that. So I'm here to help you in the ways that I can by just having these talks, and for you to take a listen in and remember that we can share what we know. We can put all these seeds out there, all these tools out there, but let's allow others to take the seeds that they feel they can use right now. Don't push them, don't force them and say, this is what you got to do, because you have to allow others to go through their own experiences. Because if I've learned anything in life, the experience is the way. No one can teach you, no one, not a one, unless they've experienced. Because I've noticed, like even myself included, I don't usually self-talk, but people they can be themselves in my space. And it's because I've been through so many experiences that I just have this space of love. I don't judge anyone. I understand. I've gone through it myself, all these different journeys that have made me become who I am. Someone that's just present. Someone who can hear the voice that speaks through us. If you don't know what the voice is that speaks through you, I think that a lot of people are starting to hear it. And if it's a pushy voice, don't listen to it, because that's not the one I'm talking about. I'm talking about something that it speaks through you on a telepathic level, where there are no, you don't hear it, it's just you feel it. You feel the words. It almost feels like, and it's the most loving voice you will ever hear. It's something you haven't heard on this earth plane, but it's something that's so loving that eventually you kind of get used to it, but still it's just such an emotion that it pours on you, because it's so much love. You know that you know that you know you will love beyond conditions. And when you know that you will love beyond those conditions, you love all in those conditions. You don't even need someone to love anymore, because you just know that everyone's there to share this love with. Whether it's a flower, whether it's my little dog here. So I guess he's my constant companion these days. And I also have a little cat. We'll talk about that too, maybe in another session. But I know I've brought it up. But it's just to this love that fills us. Some people call it God. Some people call it source. Some people just call it your higher self. Some people, whatever you want to call it, it does not matter. It's just What matters is that you listen. It's not so much praying as it is listening. It's not so much meditating as it is listening. It's not so much thinking I have to do this, that, and the other. It's listening. Like even this morning, I got up a little late, I don't know, or I lost track of time. It happens to me. And I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter if I start at 7. I'll start when I start. I'm not going to rush through anything. I'm just going to wait till everything is calm and settled. And I'll be here when I'm here. And here I am. But that is all I have for today. But I do want to leave you with that seed of thought. What are you here to do? What tools have you been applying throughout your life that you can see that, this is what I'm here to do. This is what makes me feel good. And it's not, one other thought, it's not about you having a whole, million in your audience. It might just be about you touching one, and that one touches many. And who knows, maybe that one that you touch and the many that they touch might be more that come into your frequency that you can share amongst 10. With those 10, maybe they touch 1,000,000. It's just keep doing what feels easy for you, which feels truthful for you, which brings you joy, which helps another, which also helps yourself. Because as I assist others, it brings me great joy. There's nothing that touches me more than to know that I've in some way reached another. But that's just me. No one needs to be me. No one needs to do what I do. Just do what you do. Just do it, and do it with love. You'd be amazed what happens when you take what you love and do it with love. It becomes magical. I wish you all a wonderful day. I love you all. More than words can say. Words, to me, it takes away meaning. Feel love. Know love. It exists within you. Thank you for being here with me.